Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We absolutely are.
And we're very lucky today. We have Brandy Gillmore with us. She is a researcher and mind body healing expert who has been captivating audiences worldwide with her incredible ability to demonstrate radical healing using only the mind. She's even shown proof of the incredible healing results using medical thermal imaging. Brandy's groundbreaking discoveries stem from her own debilitating injury after an accident in 2003 left her disabled, in excruciating pain and without hope of recovery. Brandy began searching for a cure. When she first started her research, she never would have guessed that her own mind would hold the key to her healing. However, after years of research, Brandy began to find that there are ways we can activate our body's self-healing mechanism using our own minds that make logical sense, and further, this approach can be repeated to produce consistent results. So welcome, Brandy. We're super excited to have you on the podcast with us.
You bet.
Thank you. Likewise. It is so wonderful to connect with you. And I just have to say, I love mother and daughter. Like, this is just so beautiful. This makes my heart happy. I just love this. So I love being here. And I love the two of you guys doing this together.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful endeavor, and it's nice to kind of have this to, keep in our pockets and keep in our hearts. So that's a really, I feel lucky that we get to do this. So
Yeah, we sure are very lucky.
so
Very
thank
lucky.
you. Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about your story, how you got here, and
Journey.
your journey
Yeah.
and where you're going now and new things for you?
Absolutely. Fun. So my journey, how I got here, I can tell you this is literally the last thing I ever thought that I would be doing. I used to do network engineering and operations. And basically I had an accident, and technically two accidents, a car accident and then a fall. And I literally went from living a full life and to being wheelchair walker cane. On a good day, I could get out with my wheelchair walker or cane. On a bad day, I didn't make it out of bed. And that was my life for many years, just on morphine and doctors saying that there was nothing they could do for me. And it changed my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. If
What
somebody told
experience?
me at that point that I would be healing with my mind, I would have thought that they were on drugs or like I would have thought there's just no way possible, which is so funny because fast forward now, what I do today is I even show mind body healing under medical equipment so people can actually see the power of the mind, because I would have never thought it was possible. And so it just radically changed my life in every possible way.
Well, and I think when you go through that experience and you find out that that is how it works, because I know when we were young, my mom got Guillain-Barré disease and ended up in a wheelchair as well. And she was a single mom and said, like, this can't be my future because I have two kids to raise, right? And so she fought her way back using her mind to heal her body. And, now clearly she's not, in a wheelchair or anything like that. So
And neither are you. That's nice. That's so nice.
It is, isn't it? Life
So
changing.
what changed you? Like, how did it change? Whereabouts, where were you when you started thinking, this is what I'm going to be doing?
As far as this is what I'm going to be doing, as far as a purpose and a mission.
Yeah.
After, as silly as it may sound, so my accident was over 20 years ago now. And so I've been healthy, happy, walking around since 2010. So about 14 years. But even at that point, I didn't see myself doing this. As I got better, I thought everybody needs to know this. And my initial thought was I need to show my doctors how to do it so then they know and they could help everybody. That was my initial thought. I was a little naive at the time on how it worked. But then I thought, well, I have to show it so people can see that you can actually get results, because nobody's going to believe you can heal with your mind. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, in some regards, it's been around forever, metaphysical healing and meditations. And I mean, it's written in the Bible.
Yeah, sure has.
Yeah. And yet, so often people don't really get results. I mean, I see people regularly 20, 30, 40 years still on the healing journey, not healing. And so I thought, nobody's going to believe this is possible, that you can actually get real results and heal. And so that drove me to just start showing people. And it was like one thing led to another. So one minute I'm, showing people how to get results. And then the next minute I know I'm helping people. And then I'm giving a TED talk. And then the next minute I'm, it just kind of has all unfolded in just this desire to show people that it could work. And I would say that just ended up fueling everything.
And so how is it that our minds heal our bodies then? Do we want to talk about that a little bit, about some of the steps that people can take to do that?
Absolutely. What I started to notice is that as it, started to research during my own injury, there's of course the placebo. And so initially I thought, okay, well, I just need to believe I'm already healed and write affirmations and convince myself and gratitude for healing. And I did all that stuff for years and it didn't work. And so I started, thinking, well, what else do I need to do? And what I began to realize is I found, research that showed the open label placebo, which was basically open label, where both the doctor and the patient both know it's fake and it still works. So it's an open label. And so basically what I started researching was finding out, why does it work when it works? And another key point was understanding, like, research that showed that people with multiple personality disorder could have different illnesses when they were in different personalities. That was shocking.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but yeah, that's like
it is. But even everything from one personality could have high blood pressure and another one doesn't. One personality could have asthma or allergies or different body temperature, or all of these things, different heart rate, all of these things that were different. So it wasn't just the belief, there was more to it. And long story short, our mindset affects our bodies in a variety of different ways. And so what I started looking at was just simply, let me simplify this. And I said, well, okay, I can see everything's pointing to the mind. We have stress affects the body. We have the placebo, the nocebo. We can see all the research and years of evidence. And I said, okay, well, I just want to get results. How can I simplify this?
Story.
And how can I simplify this? And so I started just looking at emotions, and I said, okay, we can see that emotions affect the body. And it's like, if somebody's embarrassed, their face turns red, or panic attack, racing heart, shortness of breath, or sexual thought, sexual physical response, different for men and women, but there's a response. And of course, in my state, I thought, well, I'm going to need a lot more than emotions because I'm a train wreck. But then I started looking at, emotions like broken heart syndrome, where somebody can die of a broken heart, or even scared to death. And we could see that emotions can impact us to the point of death. And I thought, well, there was a couple of things from this, is that emotions can really impact us at a huge level. And also different emotions affect the body differently. And I thought, well, okay, I can see these 5 emotions. What about the rest of the emotions that we don't see? What about guilt? What about feelings of abandonment or self-criticism or hurt or rejection? What are those doing that we don't see? And so that was a key piece, is starting to think about those specific emotions. And I would say another really big breakthrough was that basically I could look at this objectively, and I could say, but there are people with a lot of stress, PTSD even, who aren't sick. How is that possible? And there are people who are less stressed and yet have extreme illnesses. And what I began to see is that there were different combinations of emotions. So it was a combination of emotion that was key. And that was like that right there was pivotal. And one way to think about it in a simple way would be to think about if somebody wants to make cake and they have flour, they can't make cake. But if they have flour and they mix it with other ingredients, now they can make cake. Or if they have different ingredients, they make a completely different recipe. And so understanding the combination of emotions was huge. And that's what I do now, even to show results under medical equipment, is I help people to understand the specific combination and to shift it. And it's incredible.
Yeah, and I would think that showing it through the thermal, like I think people need that concrete thing to see, right? Because it's nice to say all these things work or don't work or whatever, but people like to see that proof in front of them. So I think that's amazing that you use that tool to be able to show that.
Yeah, me too. That's beautiful.
Absolutely. And by the way, if I can share my screen, I can even show you some of these images if you'd like.
Absolutely.
That'd be
Yeah,
beautiful.
we'd love
That'd be great. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I'll go ahead and do it because it's just and here, let me go ahead and grab this real quick. And basically what I'll show you, oh, it says you've disabled
maybe that'll work.
there you go.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So you can see my screen, right? And so so this was actually a study that I had published last year. And so here we go. If we go right here, and basically what this is a simple way to explain this is if anybody's ever had like you'll have like maybe a sprained ankle or an infection, there's heat that comes from that. And so this is under medical thermal imaging. And what happens, here we go. So we can see this volunteer right here had pain, and that heat shows up on the scan. So we can see all of this. And so she had a level pain of 5.5 right here. And this is a 22-minute difference. And then we can see right here, the pain is gone. And so that shows areas of heat and inflammation. And then we can see it normalize. And so what's beautiful is that's what I'll do is I'll help people to identify those specific emotions that are affecting them and help them to change it. Now, let's see. So what I also always tell people, so I mentioned it's 22 minutes apart, but what I also make sure to tell people is they have to follow through. Now, what's beautiful about this one, so we can see this one right here, is a level 6 of pain. And this one was 28 minutes. Now, there's a few things that are really beautiful about this one is, first and foremost, of course, he did it with his mind. I'm just coaching these people how to use their own mind. And I always tell people, you have to follow through. So if somebody changes their mindset and then they embody the change, I've seen the pain will stay gone. Their body heals itself. It's beautiful. However, let's say somebody leaves and then they maybe get in an argument or triggered by their spouse or boss or whomever or whatnot, then they might go right back into the negative, in which case there's just layers that they really need to embody the change. But it's incredible. Now, the other thing that's really kind of neat about this one is after I finished working with him, he said something to the effect of something like he was surprised that it worked because he had just come back from a positive motivational seminar and also a 10-day meditation retreat.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't know that going into it, but yeah, so that's what I love to do. Is it's not that we need to get results in 20 minutes or 22 minutes or 28 minutes. And one of them, I think, in that there's several case studies in there. One of them maybe 47 minutes. So but point being is it's not that we need to get results that fast. It's just showing, hey, we can. And part of the reason that I do it back like under thermal medical equipment is so that somebody doesn't say, if I did it over a week period of time, they might say, oh, well, I got a new pillow, or, oh, I slept funny, or, there's, so you can see it. And what's fun is in those studies, I will have the thermal imaging camera is set up to take a new scan every 1 second, or,
Wow.
so you can see them. And so what I love is that you can see it's not just mind over matter. It's not just thinking positive and pretending like the pain isn't there. You can see physiological changes. And another thing that's kind of cool about it is, unfortunately, if somebody does go back into the negative, you immediately see the scan go right back up. So you can see it's not something like placebo analgesia that they're just believing, that it's really directly connected to their emotions and what they're experiencing.
Wow. That's really cool. So
Yeah.
when you coach them, that I think it's really amazing. Well, first I'll do my one thought and then the other. Sorry, my brain just jumps all over the place. So
what you're saying is you like to do both at the same time, like I do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think that it was really neat to see, and that I think it's cool that you track that through the thermal imaging so much that you can actually see that taking place as it's taking place, as they're releasing that emotion, which I think is amazing. And then the other thing is that with the coaching then, so when you coach them through, do you have sort of questions that you ask that relate to what could be these hidden emotions, maybe that they've buried down to create this pain?
Yes. So yes and yes. And kind of this amazing thing happened is after I healed myself, I had basically I went from having a very, very analytical mind to now channeling information, and I can feel what they feel. So it kind of helps me shortcut it.
Nice. Nice.
It does. So, I mean, but yes, when people go through my courses and whatnot, or, there are certain questions, because there are different categories of emotions that can affect people. And there are also counterintuitive emotions that can affect people. And so, so yes, there are questions, and to help people to identify the emotions, and kind of to give context to that. If I said, one thing is this, is let's say that somebody has, let's say somebody's been sick for a long period of time, then it can become part of their self-image that they're an injured or sick person. And that can be a factor for healing that can keep them from healing themselves or continue to perpetuate different illnesses. So that's one category. Another thing can be miswired mind programming, which is very common with illness. And I would say a very simple example would be somebody who's maybe got pride and hardship. And so let's say what happens is maybe they have all this pride and hardship. So they try to let go of the hardship and let go of the negative emotions, but they can't, because then it's attached to pride. And so that can definitely affect somebody's health. And it also can keep them stuck, because then they can't get rid of the negative emotions because it's connected to pride. And so things like that, it's common for people to have miswired mind programming. So another example might be somebody maybe at a young age linked up sympathy to love, and that's how they felt love, or even feelings that love is not safe, and that can get linked up. So if somebody says love is not safe, and as human beings we need love, then that can affect somebody's health also, because now they don't feel like it's safe to receive love. And and we need love, we need human connection. And so all of these different things can get linked up and all be pieces of the puzzle that can stop a person from healing.
Wow. That's beautiful. I think to think that you can actually measure that, because there's people who have so many different things that are wrong with them, and they don't want to identify with it. And so helping them to identify with this, especially trust issues and things like that, would open up their doorways to like all kinds of wonderful things, right? It really would, because I can only think, if you have a pain and it's been, flagging you for all many years, and all of a sudden this comes along and you can just push that away. It's like, nice, real nice.
I love that you just said that. And I feel like you're all like, absolutely. And actually one of the things that I call my process, I call it the gift method. And the reason I call it the gift method is because it's exactly that, is that basically the way I look at illness now from a spiritual level is that it's like a check engine light in a car. You know, if a check engine light comes on, it's telling you, hey, something is off, you need to fix it. And we have a health issue, it's saying, hey, something is off, we need to fix it. And when we take that pattern, maybe it's hurt or rejection or abandonment or guilt or shame, whatever it is, because our patterns run throughout our lives.
Right.
We take that pattern and we change it, it becomes exactly what you just said, a gift. It opens their life up to so much. And that happened in my own life. You know, I set out to heal myself and it changed my entire life.
Wow. Amazing. I love it.
Do you think when we're paying attention then to what our bodies, because I know our bodies talk to us, like I know for myself, like, right, if I'm stressed or something, maybe I'll get eczema, let's just say. So that's obviously my body's way of saying, hello, like, are you paying attention? Peel back those onion layers, figure out why this is happening to you. Do you think that there's possibility that we can do things for ourselves to look at those things to maybe alleviate some of these things?
That is exactly my hope, is that every single person in the world has that relationship with their body, that they say, hey, yes, I can heal myself. My body is giving me valuable information and I am willing to change it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see people who do that all of the time, who start to understand that we can heal themselves and heal ourselves, and it becomes a game changer. And I would say it's kind of like this, and a very simple example. It's like, imagine if people were walking around and maybe somebody has a panic attack and they don't know it's connected to emotions. Right. And so they have this racing heart, shortness of breath, and they go, oh my gosh, scan my heart, it's racing. Oh, check my lungs. You know, I can't breathe. And so, but they have no idea it's connected to emotions. And so they're doing all these tests, and yet, lo and behold, anxiety and panic, those feelings are what's triggering this. And so what's happening is, on a bigger level, that's happening throughout our bodies. And what's interesting is even research from Harvard recently suggested that autoimmune conditions are caused by stress.
Wow.
And so, so we're seeing more and more of it. Or even research at Harvard showed emotional vitality can reduce coronary heart disease by about 50%. Now, coronary heart disease, number one cause of death.
Yeah.
When you start to look at the numbers and the reality, or even Surgeon General released a statement last year that loneliness is an epidemic and it's creating illness. And so it increases chance of illness. So we can see evidence of this everywhere, but instead of pointing more at the problem and the problem and the problem, we look at what's the solution. Well, let's get rid of this, because we don't just have stress and then it goes away and we have stress. Our brain has neural pathways. We have patterns. And that's what's true, is we have patterns, whether we are willing to acknowledge it or not. And so to answer your point, yes, that is the hope, is that and that's what I see people do, is they'll heal from something and then they go, oh my gosh, well, I just healed my headaches. I just healed this pain. I just normalized my autoimmune condition and my blood work's all normal now. And it's because we just start identifying what these underlying emotions are doing and changing them. And it's incredible. And it may sound, by the way, way too simple, but even if we think about after surgery, there has been research done after surgery that if somebody is optimistic, they heal a lot faster. And if somebody is in fear or stress or anger, they heal slower, they have more complications, more rehospitalization. So we can see even those negative emotions right there can create more illness, more problems, slower heat, like all of it. And so so that would be, I think, it just incredible for everybody to wake up and understand how to use the mind-body connection to heal themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. I know that when we do Reiki, you can feel the hot and cold within the body to help you to, go where the problem is, to help that person relieve that, whatever they're holding. And a lot of it, and even in Reiki, we know that it's to do with stresses and things like that creates these things. And it's trying to, sort of push it through the body. But what you're saying is by them seeing it, or what I'm saying to you is by them seeing it, then even that's even more so, because like Kim said, people do like to see a picture of what's wrong with them. And and then they would believe to that, like, when you tell them when you're doing Reiki, well, this is what it is. But they have to believe in the Reiki process in order for it to happen. When they can see it in front of them, then they're saying, holy shit, look at this. This is like a real problem. And you can see how, and you can show them how their stresses go as you're working with them. Like, that's phenomenal. That's awesome.
It's absolutely incredible. And to your point, as far as energy and Reiki and all this stuff, something that is really fascinating is that I'm very, like I said, analytically minded, research, and then also channeling information. And when I was going through my injury and years into it, I still was not getting results. The binaural beats and meditations and all of these things, and it wasn't working. I started to just want to understand how it works and how mind body healing could work. And something that was amazing was is that a lot of times it's thought that, energy of the body is just like a spiritual woo-woo type of thing. But our bodies, medical research has actually validated that our bodies are emitting light energy. And that it's in, like, there's a database that is maintained by the Smithsonian Harvard that has research studies in it. And this is under the NASA agreement. And there's research in this about the energy of the body and that our bodies emit light energy. And so what's fascinating, and by the way, kind of going back, this light energy was discovered about a century ago. And the medical scientist who discovered it, his name is Alexander Gerswich. And when he discovered it, he was nominated for the Nobel Prize 11 times. And he won the Nobel, like similar to the Nobel Prize in Russia. So we're not talking about just woo-woo. And so the point being is that this spiritual awareness of energy of the body that a lot of people think is just a spiritual notion is medically proven in documentation, in top hospitals being researched, and a lot of people just don't know it.
Right. So with some of this stuff, like the autoimmune diseases and things like that, do you see when you're helping people heal a lot of the same emotions that go with different diseases or different ailments?
Good question.
Great question. Absolutely. I would say yes and no and yes. Okay. So yes, in that, so there's a combination. So we talked about, like, there's a combination of emotions, and that's key. And so there's common combinations, and there's also something what I call the symptom emotion. And the symptom emotion is specifically the emotion that is connected to the symptom. And I would say, yes, that one is typically very common. And a simple way to think about this is, if we think about Florence Scovel Shinn or Louise Hay, or, we think about, the mind-body connection. So Florence Scovel Shinn was Louise Hay's kind of role model, I guess. But early 1900s in metaphysics, she kind of came up with the concept that, if somebody has a hard time seeing, maybe they're afraid of seeing, or maybe if they have a hard time hearing, maybe there's something they don't want to hear. And what I would say is our body is very literal. If you think about it, sexual thought affects the sex organs, and so I would say that there's a corresponding mind-body connection. So if somebody's being a pain in the neck, we might have a pain in the neck. And so
yeah, that's true.
I would say, if you think about the back support, I would say a lot of times if people are feeling unsupported or they're feeling angry for feeling like they need to do everything by themselves, or angry over the support or lack of financial support, or upset about it in some way. So I would say that, yes, there's different parts of the body that represent it. And I would say that is one piece of the pie, and then the other factors, and then understanding the combination. And so that's why I said yes and no and yes. So
I like that. No, I like that because, yeah, it kind of gives people that sense that, right, to listen to what their body is saying. Exactly, right? If you're having that, like you said, backache, are you feeling supported? What is going on in your life? Because I think the more that we can realize how much our bodies talk to us, we can really start to adopt what you're trying to say is our minds are so powerful that we have this ability to heal our own bodies.
absolutely.
Especially with this autoimmune, like that really takes me to another level because there's so much of it right now. And you're hearing so much about fibromyalgia and polymyalgia and all these other myalgias and stuff. And they're all supposed to be associated with autoimmune. To think that maybe this is like the final secret of where we can help these people to get out of being in pain all the time, and find some real satisfaction in their lifetime. Because they're having a hard time even identifying with this stuff, right? And on every level. So this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Part
So,
of the,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, part of the trick though is that it sounds simple, and also, like, if I add some layers of complexity to this, if we think about emotions, so we have neural pathways, we have patterned ways of thinking and feeling. One person may have a pattern of feeling abandonment or rejection. Another person may have guilt or hurt or self-criticism or whatever it is. So these patterned ways of thinking or feeling. And so a lot of times when people try to do healing with the mind, they try to just say, okay, well, let me do trauma healing. Let me heal a trauma. But usually it's part of a bigger pattern. And a simple way to illustrate that is to think about, let's say somebody has a pattern of abandonment or rejection, and they experience that in little ways here and there throughout the week, or fear of rejection, or somebody didn't call quick enough, or they felt left out. But maybe they also have a couple of major quote unquote traumas. Maybe their husband or spouse left, or maybe their dad left as a kid. So now they have major quote unquote traumas. So a lot of times people might say, oh, I have to heal this trauma, but they don't realize that there is a hidden pattern that's operating in the subconscious mind. Now, these patterns repeat. And if I get a little bit technical here, and we look at things like Freud, we look at repetition compulsion or reenactments, or we can call it the law of attraction, or we can call it attachment theory, whatever we want to call it. These patterns repeat in our minds and in our lives. And so it's easy to get stuck in them and not even realize that we're stuck in them. And that's what's kind of tricky, is because we don't realize it. And then we react to the pattern. So we can have a pattern of feeling abandoned. Like if somebody, like, let's say somebody has a pattern of abandonment or rejection. And then let's say now, in a relationship, maybe their spouse is a couple minutes late, so they feel rejected, or gave somebody else attention, then they feel needy or rejected or jealous or this or that. So all of these reactions now to this easy trigger then pushes the person away, in which they do leave. And it becomes this perpetual cycle. And so my point is it to heal, we have to repattern the mind at a deeper level, so we are not going into the specific patterns anymore at all. And that is important.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
So
what would be a first step then if people want to heal themselves? What would be a first step, in your opinion, that people should do? Besides
what?
Besides see you.
And I don't actually see most people in anymore, because I will really want to see everybody empowered. So a lot of times people go through my courses or whatnot, or classes. But I would say number one, don't delve into the negative, because that's what everybody wants to do. They go, oh, a negative emotion is affecting me. Which one is it? And the last thing you want to do is increase a negative emotion if it's impacting you.
That's right.
So I would say first, bring in the positive, but not just positive thinking, not just visualization. Bring in the positive and amplify it. And that's key, because as you amplify it, you also begin to shift your consciousness. And this is what I mean, is if you picture somebody who's really, really, really in love, what do they see? They see all of the wonderful things in a person. If you picture somebody who's really, really pissed off, what do they see? All of the not so wonderful things in a person.
Yeah.
And it's not like a person says, oh, I'm in love, show me all the positive things, I'll just focus on that. Or I'm upset, show me all the negative things. Our brains do this automatically. And the more intense the emotion is, the more the brain does it automatically. If we're super in love, we're really going to see all the good. If we're super pissed off, we're really going to see all the negative and fault find. And basically all of our emotions and subconscious programming controls our minds at a deeper level. And we don't even realize it's happening, just like in these situations. We don't consciously realize it's happening. And so we're living in this consciousness or reality that's based on our current programming. And so what I would say is if we can bring in positive programming, even if you're already happy, bringing in positive programming and amplifying it, because it helps you to start shifting also your consciousness more than you may consciously realize. And then it makes it easier to make a transition. And so I would say that. So first thing I have people do, I mentioned the GIFT method. Get new mind programming, get new positive mind programming, create neural pathways. Then it's identifying what are the problems. So identify specifically what are the problems, free yourself from it. So understanding how to free yourself and also repattern the mind. And then T is transformation, stepping into that transformation.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
That's wonderful. And you, by this time this airs, you will have your new book out, which is Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body. You can be your own cure. So that's super exciting. And so if someone was to get the book, is there tips and tricks in there that that will help them go down this path?
Yeah, the book is really, really, really cool. The book is full of the research that I found, research on energy, understanding that different illnesses have been emit different energy, different biophoton emissions. So it points out and it helps understand how it all, the mind can affect the physical body, etc., all of that. And then it goes into the GIFT method of showing people these steps and understanding to create the change.
Beautiful. This conversation has made my mind just go in all kinds of directions. And all the questions.
Good directions.
Yeah.
I just keep throwing things at you for answers to get the answers from, but I'll buy the book. Or go on your site would be a better idea probably right now. But yeah, you made the mind, or my mind, I'm certainly Ken's too. Just going through these little trips that I'm taking right now.
Yeah, there's so much information, and I think it's going to be very hopeful and helpful for people, because they're going to be able to see that there is hope at the end to be able to heal their own bodies and their own minds, which is, I think, wonderful. So if you had to leave a final message for everybody, what would it be?
It would be this. It would be that, if we think about, if you've heard of the 4-minute mile, it used to be thought that it was impossible to run a mile in under 4 minutes. And then I believe it was in the 1950s, Roger Bannister did that. And after he did, a bunch of other people then did it, and it became like a new standard. And what we can learn from this is we need to believe that, we need to know that we can do something. And of course, to be clear, I couldn't go out and run a 4-minute mile right now. I mean, if I trained for it, if I understood how, I would have to get good at it, and I could do that. But, that's my point, is that once that happened, it woke a lot of people up. And I see people now doing the same thing when they understand that they can heal something. And then they go, oh, I healed this and I healed that. Like the more we wake up to the awareness that we can, and we know we can, that's great. And then of course, understanding the skill. It's a skill to understand how to do it and to really retrain our minds. And the more that we do that, it just becomes pivotal. And that's my hope for everybody, is exactly that.
That's a beautiful
You bet.
message. So thank you for sharing that. And can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Absolutely. My website is brandygillmore.com, and Gilmore is with 2 L's. And one of the things that's really cool is, just like we looked at the thermal imaging scans, on my website, there is a video of me actually doing that under medical thermal imaging. So you can see it actually happening. And again, I do want to emphasize, I make it look really easy. Been working with the mind for so long, so you'll see me like tap in and connect with the emotion through it, and I make it look ridiculously easy. But the whole goal is just to show, hey, we can do this, and it's incredible.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Well,
So you're helping people find their bliss, and oh my God, that's what we're all about, is to find that. And thank you so much for that. So
So I
interesting.
assume you guys are about like finding bliss, and also like the importance of just family connection, it's just, I love that I'm here in this like loving space. I just love what you're doing. I really do. It's just beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, you're very welcome to join us anytime.
yes.
Please come back and see us again.
Yeah, absolutely. Because our mission is really to help people to live their best authentic life, to be able to, yes, connect, in whatever way that they need to, spiritually, or, just to live so authentically and have the best life that they can. So that's our mission with this.
All right, I'm coming. I am exactly. I love your mission. I love your purpose. I love what you're doing, and I feel honored to be here today. So thank you so much.
Yes, well, thank you as well. And everybody else, tune in the next time.
You bet.